Need to open the video that is being streamed live. Look for the chat box on the side or bottom of the video player. This is where you can type your message. Click inside the chat box and use your keyboard to type out what you want to say. You can type words, use emojis, or even ask questions. Once you've typed your message, press the enter key on your keyboard or click the send button. Your comment will then appear in the chat for everyone watching the live stream to see. If you want to send another comment, just type it in the chat box again and press enter or send. Your new comment will show up below your previous one.
Good day. In 2.5 months, Donald Trump has changed the world, and it seems he's just getting started. Few could have forecast, as recently as last year, the monumental changes now set in train by President Trump, and that's taking place in Washington and capitals around the world. Now, we have US imposed tariffs for every country in the world. It's the baseline 10% for Jamaica and most of the Caribbean. So what? Some are saying. After all, some countries have to live with over 50%. And we have been through worse. We're America's friends anyway. Now, all these taglines or knee-jerk responses are no questioning. We have two guests who will help us understand it all. What do tariffs mean for Jamaicans on the ground? Teachers, vendors, business people, consumers, all. With us today are Dr. Samuel Scott. He's been with us before. He's an international trade and business economist. And Donovan Wignal, immediate past president of the MSME Alliance, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Alliance, and executive member of the Small Business Association. With us, as usual, and we thank them, are Desmond Richards and Winnie Anderson-Brown. We invite you to write your comments on the space provided on the Frankly Speaking YouTube channel as demonstrated earlier. You may also send your comments by WhatsApp to 876-503-9995. That's 876-503-9995. Please subscribe to the channel. This is the 162nd episode of the Frankly Speaking Jamaica Podcast. And we remind you that that same link that you use to watch this live will take you and those you send it to the recorded podcast. Now, welcome again, Dr. Scott and Mr. Wignal. We're going to allow them each 2.5 minutes to tell us what they believe the new tariffs mean for the world and for us here in Jamaica, particularly us here in Jamaica. Is Mr. Scott with us? Dr. Scott, we want to start with you, sir. Dr. Scott with us, yes? No, I'm not seeing him. Am I seeing him? Okay. Mr. Wignal, can we start with you? I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay, no problem. So what does it mean? It presents both risk and opportunities. Let's do the risk first. First and foremost, there's going to be imported inflation into Jamaica, and we've been struggling to keep pace with our inflation target of 4 to 6% for a number of months now, which we have fairly been successful. With imported inflation, prices are going to go up, and life is going to get a little bit harder for the people in Jamaica who are most not able to afford the cost of living. The 10% tariff increase definitely will increase the cost of our goods going into the United States. So therefore, you're looking at our goods costing more to whoever is purchasing them. So therefore, there will be less purchase because some people might not be able to afford to purchase those goods, even though we are not as worse off as some of the other people who have been levied with between 25 and 64% tariff. Our tourism sector definitely will be impacted. the cost of travel definitely is going to increase. Our logistics are going to be impacted. Of course, he didn't mention it, but the cost of shipping definitely would be impacted by the um the costs that are going to be levied on Chinese vessels going to the United States. Now, as far as the cost is concerned, as far as the risk is concerned, we're looking at an increase in cost, and of course, everything that is associated with that will be negatively impacting us. What are the opportunities? Our goods going to the United States are definitely, yes, they're going to cost more, but not as much as the others. People are going to be seeking alternative markets for their produce that are now going to the United States at a significant increase in costs. So countries like Mexico, Canada, Europe, EU, South America, etc., they'll be seeking other markets which are going to be giving them the advantage of costs based on what is happening in the United States. So our produce now we now have to market our products based on the fact that now we can come into the market cheaper than what would be the cost going into the United States. What we need to do now is to ramp up production. Look at what it is that was going to the United States that we can produce. Of course, we're a small island states. Our productive capacity is not such that we can ramp up quickly or produce enough to supply some of those markets, but at least a great amount of our products, once we find markets for them, definitely will see increased trade between us and other people who are seeking alternate markets for their goods.
Mr. Wignal, thank you very much. We're going to dig down into some of those, and we want to welcome Dr. Scott. But before we go to Dr. Scott, I just wanted for you to suggest. So you are seeing this being more beneficial than possibly disruptive to Jamaica. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yes, I'm actually saying that it presents great opportunity for us.
Okay. All right. Dr. Scott, welcome, sir, and give us your first 2.5 minutes of your view of what this means to us.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me, and it's nice to be on the platform with my fraternity brother. How are you today? I just want to say that in looking at this, our approach has been more or less looking at it as a glass which is half full. And I want to make one little correction. In the earlier introduction, you mentioned folks may not be aware or see this in coming from the United States. But if you have been around since the various trade agreements from the Caribbean Basin Initiative, the CBRAs going back to NAFTA, there has been a move afoot for the United States to rebalance trade in terms of improving manufacturing as well as improving overall, manufacturing contribute to employment and stuff like this. And I remember working as a young economic development person in the Mid-South, that this was the order of the day for a number of years, some 35 years ago. Now, in terms of Jamaica, I look at Jamaica as a part of the global south or the emerging markets, so to speak. And this U.S. global tarification, it is more or less like an exogenous shock. It's coming from the outside, and obviously you have to make some adjustments. The endogenous shocks, though, is going to be how the Jamaican leaders set up a governing structure as well as how the private sector respond. And I'm in agreement with everything that Donald has said before, in terms of getting there. Donovan, sorry.
Because we're going to dig into some of what the overall things you're saying. But you are saying that this is not such a threat to Jamaica. It represents opportunities more than Is that your line, Dr. Scott?
No, I see it as something which is going to impact you very severely in the short run. But in the medium to long term, there are adjustments that you can make where it is almost going to be beneficial to you if you were able to do some of those things. And as a matter of fact, I think this is driving us to where we should have been in the Western Hemisphere in terms of integrating our markets more with the United States. And I'll talk more on about 3 to 4 areas where I see this as happening. In the short run,
in the
obviously,
short term, you said in the short term, it could affect us severely. How
it's
so?
going to be because, as Donovan said before, you're going to be paying higher prices for items that are coming into your market space because of how they have structured this tariff and how they are implementing it. And as a matter of fact, you have your consumer affairs has to be vigilant, make sure that the private sector response to this is not just going to be, well, we have to add on because the shipping costs or the logistics or stuff like that is going to be X number of dollars. And just remind me to give you some statistics about one estimate they have made with respect to the 10% increase in tariff. They see a price movement of between 0.8 to 1.6% at the wholesale level. And obviously, as you ratchet that out to retail, then the other thing that Donovan said.
All right, so hold on a second. We're going to come back because we want to drill on in the specifics as to what the Jamaican or Jamaican people might feel, whether in the short term or medium term. I don't know if Desmond wanted to come in there because we're going to go right after this to a comment from Mayor Motley, who was seeming to paint a very serious picture of what was going on, Dr. Scott and Mr. Wignal. And we're going to take Mayor Motley right after Desmond. Desmond, you had a comment?
Are you hearing me?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
One of the things that Donovan pointed out about the opportunities.
Yes.
But the question is, are the Jamaican business people, are they prepared to take these opportunities? And the impact he spoke about the.
Desmond, we lost you there. Mr. Wignal, you want to just give us a quick response to that about whether Jamaicans are prepared? We just lost Desmond there a while ago. Whether Jamaicans are prepared to take the opportunities, Jamaican
Yes, I think they are.
From your vantage point.
Yes, they are. I think what is happening in the agricultural sector, what is happening in the manufacturing sector, and what the government has done with the last budget in terms of the announcement on the reduction in the cost of acquiring equipment and related equipment for manufacturing. I see we can get up to speed pretty quickly. Our only problem, I think, at this point is the cost of energy. If the government finds a way to reduce the cost of energy, I think in the short to medium term, we could ramp up productivity to take some advantage of the market conditions that currently exist as far as the cost of exports are concerned.
All right, Mr. Wignal, listen to this from the chairman of CARICOM, Mayor Motley, and she was speaking last week, and Winnie is going to also help us to read us this little piece of her long comment.
Yeah.
Yes. I want every Caribbean man and every Caribbean woman to hear me. This trade war and the possibility of a US $1 million to $1.5 million levy on all Chinese-made ships entering US harbors will mean higher prices for all of us at the corner shop, higher prices at the supermarket, higher prices at the electronics store, higher prices for us at the shop, higher prices for us at the restaurant, higher prices for us at the current dealership and beyond. A lot of Caribbean people will think that these things that you are seeing on television, news, or reading about are far away and they don't impact me. A lot of people think I'm just a farmer, I'm just a school teacher, or I'm just a mechanic. They say, I live in St. Lucie in Barbados, or I live in Portmore in Jamaica, or Kingstown in St. Vincent, or Arima in Trinidad, or Basseterre in St. Kitts and Nevis, or San Ignacio in Belize.
Oh,
These problems are far away from me and they don't impact me. That is what you will hear them say. But the reality, my friends, is that if you buy food, if you buy electronics, if you buy clothes, it will impact you. It will impact each of us.
Mr. Wignal, I want you to give me a quick response to that. Because that doesn't sound like what you and Mr. Dr. Scott are saying. You sound like this thing Trump has done is resetting something to help us. What the Barbados Prime Minister, Chair of CARICOM, is saying.
Well, for us, for our economy, we do produce a lot of the food that we eat, and we also import a lot of the food. Purchase is a matter of choice. You choose to buy what you want. You can choose to buy what is expensive, or you choose to buy what is cheaper. Our local farmers will now be able to sell their produce and will be able to compete with whatever is imported based on price. I think it's an opportunity for our farmers to ramp up their production. It's an opportunity for our factories, the ones that manufacture whatever it is that we use locally, to ramp up their production, to boost local GDP so that we can supply ourselves and reduce our import bill. Whatever is being imported from those countries are going to be coming in at significantly higher prices. Logistics is going to be a lot more expensive. And what I see now, almost, I'm hearing Mike and Manley's words ringing in my head: self-reliance. Eat what you grow and grow what you eat. And I think at this particular point in time, Trump is like Thanos in the Avengers. He's causing the great reset. At this point in time, we must reset Jamaica. We must reset our productive sector. We must reset our farming, build the farm roads, have flat green, irrigate the land.
Mr. Wignal, I want to hear what Dr. Scott has to say with regard to me, but Mr. Wignal, I would really love the chance to probe that business about our farmers.
Because Mr. Donovan.
Yes, sir.
Let me tell you something now. Every week I talk to the farmers.
Mm-hmm.
And they are having a hell of a time.
Selling their goods?
Yes. For example, as you know, Beryl destroyed the sector.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree with that.
Crops were destroyed.
Some.
And it set back farmers. So, for example, in December last year, the price of some goods were very high and scarce. But the farmers went back into the field, they planted. And I can tell you that thousands of tons, hundreds of tons of tomatoes and other vegetables rot in the field in St. Elizabeth because they couldn't find market.
Before we go any further, there's something basic that must be, that a viewer is asking to be explained so that we don't lose them. Keith P. is saying, can one of the gentlemen explain to the Jamaican people what is tariff in layman's term so that they can understand what's going on?
All right.
Very layman. Thanks very much. Dr. Scott, he was that very layman.
I'm going to let Mr. Wignal go ahead, and then I'll go from there. Go ahead. Because in the Jamaican context, for me, it's like a tax that you're going to be putting on the particular product that is going to be moving across borders, more or less. It's just a charge, a special charge, more or less.
Right. Which the Jamaican exporter, who is paying the charge? Who's paying the charge in our case to the U.S. tariff?
The purchaser in the United States.
The purchaser of your
in the
product
United
is going
States.
But
And so my product coming out of Jamaica gets hit with a 10% tax.
Yeah, but
by somebody absorbing it in the U.S.
But for years you have had the GST.
So I just want to get these things settled first.
It is important, yes.
It is important that
people understand. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it's important that people understand what the discussion is about.
Okay, all right.
And then we can proceed. But it's important for people to know what we're talking about. This is the same person is asking, do you think that Jamaican should seek other markets instead of depending on American market? That is the person who had asked about the tariff.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But the question is for what?
What is it that we sell? I can give you a few items that we sell.
Yes, I know. I am sure.
Well, go ahead, Mr. Wignal. But Winnie, can you take the other comments? I see
the other comment, Everton Wallace, because it goes elsewhere. He's saying self-reliance is not Michael Manley's words. It is Marcus Garvey who preached it. Okay. And Ruby and Forbes is saying good afternoon to everyone.
Okay. So, Mr. Wignal, those two things. Should we be looking for other markets?
Absolutely. Don't put your eggs in one basket. So if we can sell to South America is a
sell what? Sell what, by the way? What? I mean, I saw something that, well, you go ahead. I don't want to.
I'm just coming from the expo. I went to the expo on Friday. I'm going to go back shortly. And I see a whole heap of products. There's Home Choice, who's a member of our alliance, that sells anywhere from Jamaican juices, spices, condiments, the stuff that we do and do well, jerk sauces, all the stuff all the Jamaican products, canned ackee, canned callaloo by Grace Kennedy, a lot of the stuff that is sold in the diaspora, and also the South Americans do enjoy our stuff as well, and Europe. I was on West Green Road in London, and a whole heap of Jamaican products that we buy in the supermarket down here are sold to those places where people consume. So our food, there you go, right there. So Home Choice, right, very good one. Very good one. Products like those, Walker's Wood jerk sauce, our furniture makers, stuff that we do that are biodegradable. And I know that one particular important manufacturer just setting up a plant to do biodegradable garbage bags, biodegradable containers, biodegradable, a whole slew of stuff that is biodegradable. And this is the sort of things that I'm talking about. If it is that we can look what is imported and set up factories to manufacture those, the high costs of setting up a factory must be looked at, and the government must intervene and ensure that we can set up our factories very quickly and manufacture more of the products that we sell. Jamaican art, Jamaican music, a lot of stuff that we sell, and do a fairly good job at other people can't replicate it. They can't replicate our Jamaican-ness. I think we can
Dr. Scott, can we take it up there from the agricultural point of view in particular?
Exactly.
Are there other markets? Are we doing enough anyway now to get even into the U.S. market? I thought that we were underperforming in most of those
with as what Donovan said, there are a couple of products that he mentioned that we have been underperforming inside the United States or the North American market when you include Canada, so to speak. So some of your canned products that you have been doing, more or less, the demand is there, but obviously you have not been able to shake into that space. He mentioned food and beverage, non-alcoholic beverages, spirits, but there are the two areas like the aggregates and the aggregates and non-timber resources that he mentioned are some of those. But I just want to say this, and I know we want to focus on the small farmers. The value-added approach that he has mentioned, Donovan has mentioned, is quite possible some of the ways in which we can go ahead and target some of the market. And for those who have followed some of the threads that I've been supporting in the other forum, more or less, you are looking at how you can get into those markets. But remember now, this isn't just tarification bilaterally or regionally. This is tarification globally. So if the tariff is going to reduce the amount of disposable income, that may very well affect the demand of your product, whether you move it into Germany or you move it into the Netherlands. One of the things
explain us again. If the tariff is going to affect the disposable income, where?
It's going to affect the disposable income in the third market where cash isn't available to do it. Because I'm going to explain. This one, but I want to make a point. While in the diaspora market, I can tell you this: if Aki move from $9 a tin to $15, $16 a tin,
You're gonna sell.
it's still going to sell because
Yeah.
it has something called the nostalgia effect. And I remember the days when Aki used to be sent from Canada, and they used to take it underneath the counter in South Florida and sell it for $14, $15 a tin. It's going to sell your jerks, your beverage, and stuff like that. But in your third market, where tariff may impose, and even in the United States, that may very well happen, where the amount of money that you have, that you can allocate to these items, it's not there, then the demand may not be, you may not be able to expand those market and expand the market share.
All right, so quickly tell me this. You would be focusing, Dr. Scott, on the exports that we should be ramping up. Is that where your focus would be, rather than talking about
I'm even going to go further in saying that it is time now for us to get in some of the nearshore manufacturing of some of those items. And let me tell you why. The tariff, if the tariff is at 10% on the finished good, take the HTS and take the 99 chapters and look at the product and then see how the tariff is being applied. And this is why I'm saying the devil is going to be in the detail. Quite a few of the items that we are exporting can be come in as intermediate goods and can be manufactured inside the third market, whether you're going to go UK or whether you're going to go the Netherlands, Germany, or the United States. And there are some members of the diaspora who have started to do this long time ago. So if under the CBRA, more or less, that there is a total waiver on, say, peppers, Scotch bonnet peppers. If it gets inside here and you set up your jerk plant here, because remember this, capital is mobile, money is fungible, and so far the United States allow for the expatriation of profits. So what? So
hold on, Dr. Scott. You mentioned something there, but I want you both of you to respond to this before Winnie takes any other. Winnie, want to take your responses, and then I go to
Wallace. His question is close to mine. The question is, can Jamaica maintain a constant supply of these goods to the US, Europe, Canada, and other places? He said, etc. Yeah.
And that is going to be a function of what your governance structure and
that is where I wanted
and
to
the
go,
private
Mr.
sector.
Mr.
Private
Scott,
sector
that's where
is
I
going
wanted to go from the person who asked it earlier.
Yeah.
Are we, and I asked Mr. Wignal to go first, is the government of Jamaica, the structures and everything, prepared and ready to respond that we can come out of the plus with this tariff?
Well, frankly, I think they have started already. I know it's election season. I know a lot of promises are being made, but some of the things that are announced Like for example, the tax on capital equipment or the importation of capital equipment. There also exists the productivity incentive relief, which you can bring in any amount of equipment you want and get deferment on the taxes that you pay at customs for those machinery. The factories that are currently set up, like for example, the factories that make teas, the factories that make juices, the factories that make the condiments and the nutraceuticals that people like to buy from us, the ginger extracts, etc., that is sold by, for example, Home Choice, that is wholly and solely manufactured in Jamaica. Those factories are pumping out enough product to supply the United States market. Now, if it's a matter of expanding the capacity to produce more, it's a simple process. Those companies have the funds.
So argument about our failure to meet export markets and to drive exports and to grow the economy.
That's a fallacy.
Not true.
No,
Yes.
we can. For the products that we sell abroad, we can improve in terms of how much we sell. So once the demand is there, the local manufacturers have the capacity to ramp up production to match it. And do it pretty quickly as well.
Donovan, I just say, while I will go with you 90% on that, there's a 10% outside chance because I work with some of the distributors here.
Yes.
Going into those stores and markets that you're talking about. And I know of one particular instance where the Jamaican product crossover into a larger distribution field where they were asking for the kind of, in other words, they could only deliver 10% of what was asked for, right?
Because the market was ramped up and the market can, for example, if you were operating in the Caribbean Sea, and then now you're asked to operate in the Pacific Ocean, then you have to expand. You have to get bigger.
Yes.
So, for example, a Ria Neville or a Money Musk or any one of those people that make alcohol, it will, within the short term, it would be easy for them to ramp up production. They have a set market abroad. A whole heap of the rum that is manufactured locally by any one of the companies are sold abroad. And no matter what price is on it, it is going to be sold. What is happening in the United States now with the alcohol taxes across the border for the alcohol that is going to the United States with bourbon and all of that, you're going to see now an increased demand for alcoholic beverages out of Jamaica, Red Stripe, etc. We now have to, and the government has to be central to this, not look at the duties and taxes that you're going to collect from the people, but basically invest for a greater return on investment into manufacturing in Jamaica. And once they do that, there's no turning back, right? No turning back.
I would like Donovan.
Go ahead, Desmond, and I'm gonna ask Winnie to take some comments.
I would like you to focus on the impact of the tariffs on the Jamaican consumer.
But for the Jamaican consumer, remember, the tariff is levied on exports. What is happening for imports? For the stuff that is exported from China or from wherever else that goes into the United States, that we buy from the United States, that comes to Jamaica, those prices are going to go up. For the products that are manufactured,
and do we have any sense of what proportion of the goods, the imports, comes that way? Will attract taxes going into the US, which we naturally take on when we import? Because it seems to me that when you go there, Mr. Wignal, I mean, obviously the manufacturer's not dealing with this market, but everything out there on the sidewalk, in the market corner, everywhere out there is just imported stuff.
Absolutely. But look at flour, sugar, rice. What do we eat a lot? Chicken, flour, sugar, rice, chicken,
cooking
oil, etc. A phenomenal amount of those stuff that we consume, we actually make them locally. Jamaica flour.
Winnie, can you take those comments and then we'll just go to the
yes, Owen Richards says,
except for rice.
Please bring back Owen. Okay. Owen Richards says, who is the owner of the company that currently makes Red Stripe? That's a question that Owen is asking. See, I didn't hear that.
An Italian company by the name of Diageo.
Diageo.
And okay. I understand the question. Patrick Maitland, this program is quite informative. However, the presenters require additional time to thoroughly explain the issues to us.
He wants more, frankly.
Everton Wallace says, there is no infrastructure in place. The maintenance of the country has run down to ground zero. Every year we have mango season and the amount of mangoes goes to waste, and our Etioti apples. Otaiti apples.
Well, I'm thinking like that.
And Keith
Take
P,
that
one more. Keith P says, every year we have a great mango season. How come we are not manufacturing enough mango nectar for exporting? I haven't heard anyone mention that.
All right, Dr. Scott, it's over to you now on the agricultural side.
Boy, I tell you, if I could,
Dr. Scott, go ahead.
If I could shake the hands of some of those folks who are making the comments, I would. And these are not.
Because I'm concerned about that mango and that OTT apple too.
These are not issues that have
We import mango.
These are issues that have been on the table a long time ago. And I think what this global tarification is going to do, it is going to force the private sector as well as the governing body in many of these countries to grapple with those things as it relates to how you're going to satisfy the agricultural exports that you're doing, the light manufacturing exports that you're doing, and then some of the support that both onshore and nearshore private sector folks require to be able to combat this thing with respect to the tariff that is being imposed, more or less.
But you said its clarification is something that
you make
brings
it
some clarity. But
I am sorry. You make it a little bit more complicated when you start using words like tarification. When listeners are asking you to explain tariff, you come up with a bigger version of that. No, let me read what is here. What is a tariff? Yes. So this is above the. Okay. What is a tariff? A tariff is like a special tax or fee that countries put on things they buy or sell from other countries. And the mere fact that they ask about what is a tariff, let's try and keep it so that whoever asks that question is not the only one. So let's make sure we reach the people we are talking with.
All right. So tarification just means how much you're going to put on and how you're going to apply the tool. That is what is meant by that, really. So, and I'm just trying to pack all of these things to be able to come down to some salient points, which I think Franklin had asked in some of the comments that we're involved in. Anyhow, to go back to the value-added piece on it, I would say that there has to be a new way your manufacturing association and companies look at satisfying the Jamaican market, working with the farmers, working with the producers, and exporting. So your investment promotion and your market promotion has to now be at the level where you are going to look at not only attracting resources to come in, but how you support the resources that are already placed in those products and going into those markets. So if it is flavors from your neighbor, if it is Caribbean, if it is trade shows, if it is product cuts with the major food distributors inside the United States, Canada, the Netherlands, UK, and other European countries. Those are some of the things now that the small manufacturers will have to be able to get in play there, and then they understand how they're going to do this unit by unit inside your space. Because
and do you support the idea that the government, that now that we can be even more focused, the government should be picking winners that should be supported, winning industries, winning products that should be supported for the competitive advantage?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Mr. Scott and then Mr. Wignal.
Yes, I am. Yes, I believe that the government should be picking some winners and some good players. If they are not going to do that, then they have to get involved in like the way in which the Israelis have looked at since Jamaica. You're promoting this. You're talking about this as food. Use the process of the Agri-Exco model to get Mount Carmel brand to bring back the billions of dollars that you can bring back, meaning they support 7 distribution points all over the globe, from Hong Kong right back to New York, that is connected to their product. And then the folks who are doing the orange, the flour, the condiments, the juices, all that kind of stuff that is in play. That has been proposed to Jamaica 40 years ago.
Okay, let me jump in with this comment. Let me jump in with this comment. Everton Wallace says, the presenters, and this must is in block capitals, must not sugarcoat the harsh realities ahead of the Jamaican people. Tariff means the Jamaican people will be unable to purchase any goods that comes into the country. Full stop. This is his person's opinion.
Wallace.
Yes, okay. I too disagree with Mr. Wallace.
We currently charge across the board about 47% on most goods, except for energy saving devices and some manufacturing devices. So we ourselves have tariffs coming in. GCT is 15% and 20% duty that we charge on most. So we currently are paying duties on almost everything that we consume that are imported.
Everything, man, which almost. Yes. What we don't pay
that is the status quo.
Yes.
So the World Trade Organization came to Jamaica and said, okay, you are charging GCT on raw foods coming into Jamaica, and that is illegal. You must remove the GCT.
Is that true though, sir?
Yes,
I'm told that is not true, you know.
It is true.
Wignal. I was speaking with an agriculturalist up to this week, and we were doing a little bit of research, because I was going to ask you that before we wrap up. That's true. Mr. Trump is putting on tariffs all around, and we were putting on other tariff there, in essence, a tariff to prevent overseas food coming from overseas and to aid our farmers.
Right.
And the government has removed that. You are saying that they were told to remove it?
They were told to remove it because it's illegal. They didn't.
No, Mr. Trump's tariff's not illegal.
Well, of course it's illegal. So
go ahead.
So for us,
but Franklin, what you're talking about? WTO can talk.
I want to give him a chance to explain this, Desmond, and then
no, but you don't need him to explain how the world is structured. WTO can't talk to America.
No, I have to see that established, and I'm going to do the research myself.
No,
told us.
Let me tell you,
because I'm told that's not true.
Frankly,
the rule.
Mr. Wignal, can we soon finish? You know, we don't want to cut you off.
Yeah, so they can't remove the tariff from the 15% GCT from the imported goods, because the goods that are coming into Jamaica, the price will go down so low that our local manufacturers, the local farmers would have suffered greatly. So the government backtracked on it because it's something that would have decimated our agricultural sector.
Backtracked on what?
They didn't remove the duties, the GCT. It was mentioned out of government that the WTO is on our backs about removing the 15% GCT that we charge on imported food.
Believe me, I've got lost somewhere in the middle there, and I will do the research and we start.
All right,
Winnie, there's a comment from Patrick.
Patrick Maitland is asking a question. The question is, what about the high rate on motor vehicle?
To do what? For productive purposes?
No, the profile.
That's the end.
Let me give you an insight on the motor vehicle rates of duties. For trucks,
yes.
For carriage, it's 33%. For motor vehicles, for luxury vehicles, etc., it's 60% up to 120%. So if you're bringing, for example, a truck right now that needs to put in a business, based on what was announced in Parliament last week, the duties, you could claim back the duties that you pay on that vehicle as capital equipment.
Good. Gentle people, we have only 1 minute. Winnie, can you take that comment and then...
Okay, Everton Wallace says, So Everton Wallace says, so Jamaicans can hardly buy things for themselves. Now, if you add 10%, more than 10% will be added to those who are selling these goods. Consumer Affairs can hardly manage price gouging already.
No.
That's
So let's
Everton.
correct. Let's correct Everton. It's
Yes,
10%
please,
on our
please do.
exports.
No,
Not
we're
your
not going to
imports.
be able to answer Everton. So Scott,
Exports.
you first. You have 30 seconds, and then
All right.
and then
Look,
so we
here's
just
this.
give us the final advice. No,
here
honestly,
are the-
30 seconds, and we're going to get cut off.
Yeah, here is the big bucket now for the three things that you guys need to focus to balance it. First of all, it's a clear
No,
case.
you have to just say 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. One, investment. Start looking at the central banks to look at instruments where you can attract monies coming into that is going to be moving from
So Scott,
other
you're not going to be
places.
able to finish. We're running out of time.
Tourism and real estate. Start looking at tourism.
Tourism,
from
real estate.
other
Mr.
markets.
Wignal?
Nearshore and investment. Start looking at doing the things that you were told 40 years ago to do. Anyhow, Mr. Wick, go ahead.
All right. I don't disagree with everything that Mr. Trump is doing. Is very disruptive and causing the Great Reset. I think the government needs to double down on investing in the productive sector. The banks need to reduce interest rates for productive loans for productive service purposes.
Well
And
said,
that
Mr.
is-
Wignal. Dr. Scott,
Yes.
I thank you both, gentlemen. Donovan, Wignal, and Sam.
No, so this is part one or part two.
Regular viewers said that we have to use more time, and we are really considering it. Thanks to regular presenters Desmond Richards and Winnie Anderson Brown. Thanks to the technical producer Joshua Block of Joshua Block Media Services. To you, our viewers, we are very thankful. I'm Franklin McKnight. Until then.